sometimes we need to understand that we're setting ourselves up to fail by creating goals that are impossible. Right? That's like me saying, I never want to gain weight ever again. How is that? I mean, I can't guarantee that. So today we're talking about something psychological, but I'm not allowed to notice about. So I guess we're just going to jump right in. Hello, Wellness. Welcome to Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet, Pat Chat Edition. I'm Violet.
And I'm Pat. So, you often, maybe too often, tell me about how important the way you talk to yourself is and how to create positive goals.
Yeah.
So let's cover that. Let's cover that in regards to food. Let's cover that in regards to family, to work. And I did note some examples, and maybe you can help me fix them.
Okay.
So that's a little game we're going to play.
Let's see how fun it is.
It will be. So
I want to just clarify right now. You're asking me to do this. I'm going to give you my real answers on video.
That's what we want. That's what we want. Okay, so let's start with your health. Let's say your goal is, I want to lose 20 pounds. Or even better, I just want to lose 20 pounds. First of all, is it a good goal? Is there a way to make it a better goal?
Okay, so basically, if my goal is to lose 20 pounds, right away, I feel like the only reason that you're actually trying to lose weight is that either it's bikini season or there's some, that's
I want
not,
to fit in my bikini.
because, so here's the thing. It's possible that you, for some reason, looked at yourself in the mirror and noticed that, oh, I gained weight. It's a possibility. But more often than not, what I notice is that when people have that happen, it's because a spouse said something, a doctor said something, somebody else said. So it's coming from external towards you, and now I'm trying to get away from this weight that I've put on. And this is why I feel like this is not a good goal, because health isn't my number one concern there. My concern is about looking a certain way. Will losing the weight improve your health? Maybe. Maybe. Depends on how you lose it.
Yeah.
And so this is why, again, when I hear people say, I want to lose weight, or I just want to lose weight, or whatever, I'm hesitant to talk with that person on that topic, because I feel like you're just looking for me to say this magic answer that's going to result in you magically losing weight, and you have no understanding of why you're losing the weight, of what it means that you're losing the weight, of what your body's. And so the negative of that, when you lose weight, what happens? Do you keep doing what we talked about? Chances are no.
Yeah, but Violet, keto is a great way to lose weight. You lost 70 pounds in 8-9 months. So
Actually,
why
it was 5 months.
5 months? Oh, even better.
And the reason that I lost 70 pounds in 5 months was because I was trying to heal a hip issue. And so for clarity, the hip issue got solved after a month and a half. Well, maybe even less than that, because I didn't know until a month and a half later that it was healed, because I'd forgotten about it. So here's what's interesting, is you're saying it's a great way to lose weight. If I was only trying to make my hip feel better, and I hadn't had it in my head that I need to solve this forever, because, well, you'll be 43 years old and not be able to climb stairs, and I think you're going to be willing to rechange the whole way you're looking at your life, which is what hit me. But had I been just trying to make it feel better and then move on with my life, I probably would have gone back to eating standard Caribbean diet. But in my process of learning why my hip was hurting me, I learned that I was poisoning myself. So I didn't do keto to lose weight. I happened to lose weight doing keto, trying to solve my poisoning of myself that I was doing. And as I mentioned, a month and a half in, I had already solved the original problem.
Okay, so don't use keto as a temporary way to lose weight. You're going to end up hurting yourself more than healing yourself. It's a lifestyle. You need to change it. You need to change your way of living, and you need to change it forever. Right?
Exactly. But you know what? And this is where life gets tricky. Anything that you do, if you do it only for a temporary reason, is going to end up causing you problems. So, if I study for this test because I want to get 90 on it, I'm going to memorize that stuff and get 90. But then when I get into the next level, do I remember what I learned back there? And so I end up failing at the higher level because I didn't really learn it. I memorized it for the test. And how often do we see that happen to people where they flunk out of university because they weren't really learning the information? They were just trying to like get that grade, get that grade, get that grade. And then at some point that stops working. We need to understand that, and especially when it comes to our health, there are bigger issues at play here.
Let's tackle family. Family with, let's say, your kids. A lot of people in the past year have been stuck home with their kids, with their spouse. Let's tackle their kids. I have a colleague like that has 3 kids, and oh boy, he wanted to go back at the office as freaking fast as possible because he couldn't like be in that situation like longer. So. If my goal is just, I want to stop yelling at my kids, like how do we make that better?
Well, first of all,
I want to be mad. I want to stop being mad at my kids. Let's say.
but that's never okay. So again, this is one of the things where it's so funny how we talk to ourselves. I want, but then we turn around and say, no, I want to stop. Well, then basically you're saying I don't want to. Right? I don't want to yell at my kids. Okay. But the truth is, if you really didn't want to yell at your kids, you wouldn't. And the reason you yell at your kids is because you're upset. And so now you're saying, I don't want to ever be upset at my kids. Well, how is that ever going to happen? Like, sometimes we need to understand that we're setting ourselves up to fail by creating goals that are impossible. Right? That's like me saying, I never want to gain weight ever again. How is that? I mean, I can't guarantee that. Right? As clean as I eat today, there's still the possibility that I gain weight. Right? It's like me saying, I never want to be financially in a problem again. I can't guarantee that. As good as I am with my money, I can end up in a problem again 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. Right? So if I create a goal that says no, of course I'm going to fail at that. What do I really want? And that's the question that you're not asking yourself. What do I really want? Is it that I never want to be mad at them? Or is it that I would like to make good decisions about how I'm teaching them to behave appropriately in the world? That I would like to teach them how to respect that mom is working, for example, right now. That I would like to teach them how to entertain themselves for 5 minutes while I'm making supper. That I would like to teach little Jimmy not to bite little Timmy, right? And if that's what I'm trying to accomplish, then all of a sudden I look at that problem very differently. Because when the little Jimmy bites little Timmy, I'm going to give little Jimmy a consequence that makes sense for his age, but helps him to understand that biting Timmy is not an option.
Yeah.
Right? And that has nothing to do with screaming. Screaming does not help Timmy understand anything.
Yeah. And you actually need also to change. I'm gonna try to add something there, even though you're a psychologist. But you have to see new situations as new opportunities. Like your kids maybe want some attention, and you have to. Maybe it's a good opportunity to spend more time with them as when they're in school. Especially us, we have like older teens. Luckily enough, they still want to hang out with us, and they still like. Happy when we're around. I think so. I think
I do. It's true.
I think so. I have like my big boy almost like as tall as me. Like he needs his hugs, and so we're still like happy about that. But for now,
we are lucky because our kids, all 3 of them, they actually enjoy what we do. But again, we've cultivated that with them by doing fun things with them. So and I'm sorry, I want to cut you off. I just want to point this out, just point to the puzzle out too. How many times do I have parents in front of me who are frustrated with their kids, who are yelling at their kids, and you're right, the kid is trying to get their attention, and then they're not giving the kid attention. They're not giving the kid an alternative, expecting the kid to behave in a certain way that's not necessarily respecting the child's age. So right now you're talking about our teens. But the truth is, the amount of time that we spend with our teens started when they were very little. That every single weekend we had plans for all of us to do something. They are used to spending time with us. They are used to having fun with us.
Yeah.
And it's not just about when I have to crack down on them for like did they clean up their room or did they do their homework or whatever. It's the flip side of the coin too. Let's go have fun. Let's go outside. So I'm not just giving them only one version of me, mom in control. I'm giving them both sides of the coin, right? Let's go have fun. So I think that when you have what you're talking about, where you have a parent that's so angry that this kid's not listening, but not realizing, well, they're not listening because I'm not giving them anything positive to listen to.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to have problems there.
So for sure, like especially my little Gabriel, that's right now he's full time in school, so I don't see him much, I would say. But like school is almost like finished. We're gonna finish end of June. I'm already planning my work day because I know for sure like that I'm gonna work out from home all summer. So I'm already thinking about like planning my day a little bit differently to just go do something outside with him for an hour in the middle of the day. I'm buying some frisbees. I know at school like they're that's why I'm shopping for frisbees on Amazon because like right now I know they're doing that in the park, like in their physical education classes. So yeah, it's just like maybe see. And it's actually going to be the first time, maybe, except for vacation, but that I'm actually planning like regular work days, having a little break in the middle to go outside, do some stuff with them.
So the other thing I want to just go back to a few seconds ago, you were saying that we have to learn to look at the situation differently. And I know, and I believe that it's not a French English thing right here, what you're doing.
Okay.
The language that we use with ourselves absolutely matters. If I tell myself I have to do something, the underlying message is I don't really want to.
Did I say I have to?
Yeah. And so the thing is I want people to think about is that if I'm looking to see the opportunities where I can make this a learning environment and a learning situation for me and my kid, then I will find those opportunities. But if I tell myself I have to do that, I'm not going to see them. Even though they're there. The same opportunities, right? I'm going to get mad and I'm going to scream and I'm going to yell all the things that I said I didn't want to do because in my mind, I'm telling myself I don't really want to do this.
Same thing can probably goes with like couples out there. Like if both spouses are from home working, maybe fighting for the same desk or the same like home office, like a negative goal would be just like, oh, I wish I could stop fighting with my spouse.
Absolutely. And I wish I could stop fighting with my spouse doesn't actually address the problem. Right? So here's an interesting thing as you bring up this, we're both working from home, this same home office. We are now officially a year plus into the situation and you still only have one desk?
I think I saw that with my colleagues, yeah.
Yeah. Like you are actually not trying to solve that problem. I'm sorry to tell you, you're actually not. If it's not like if we think this is changing tomorrow, right? Maybe a month in I could see it. Maybe 2 months in, a year and a month.
Yeah, March,
a year and 2 months later.
Yeah,
and you're still saying, "Oh, there's only one desk." You're not actually trying to solve the problem. And if you're not actually trying to solve the problem, don't be surprised when the problem shows its head again. And again,
and become worse,
and again, and again. The same way that you'll have couples where they're talking about, oh, like I don't like the way he speaks to me, and yet, or she speaks to me, either way, but yet when they speak to you that way, you respond.
So you might be ending up fighting on stuff that even not related because you didn't address the problem that's really like at hand. For example, sharing the desk or sharing the home office.
Well, obviously, if I'm upset and I'm not addressing what's causing me upset, now this is the underlying, Violet's living her day at 7, annoyed with you. You don't have to do much for me to be at 8, 9, or 10, right? Like how quickly is that going to happen, right?
Okay, yeah.
It's just the truth, right? And it's the same for everybody in the house. So you've got me at 7, and now Kyler does something, and I'm all over her.
Okay.
Right? And is it her fault? No.
Yeah.
And she's looking at me like I'm the meanest person on the planet, but it's right? And is this the thing is that that's what happens when you're not actually allowing yourself to address it. But when you look at what really happens in our home anyways, in this direction. If I'm pissed with you, I'm very nice with the kids. It's the person I'm upset with that's getting the attention because I'm focused on, we got to solve this, and I'm not going to let it go until it's solved.
So you need to be aware of that. Which
It's not even that I need to, it's not about needing to be aware. It's that when a problem arises with person X, when you do what I do, which is solve always, I'm in something with you and I stay in it with you until it gets solved. And this is what we are trying to accomplish, is that you focus on the problem, you engage the problem, right? The truth is, the other part of the story that I'm going to put out there, since we're putting all our garbage on the table, is that how long does it last?
Yeah.
When I'm in something with any of the kids or even with you, how long does it last? 15 minutes?
Yeah, not long.
Right? I say what I got to say. I hear your answer. We go back and forth until we find an answer that is acceptable to me, and we move on.
Okay.
Right? Why? Because that's what I was trying to solve. But it's not just, oh, leave it floating in the air and then, because that's going to cause problems for everybody else.
For everybody else and for other situation unrelated to that
Exactly.
situation that's bugging you. Okay. Yeah. So like all the, like you see it in the news, like, or like I think the stats are like a little bit horrifying about how many couples like separate or gets divorced. So they're not solid in the first place in addressing those issues.
At the beginning of this work situation that we're living right now, we used to hear more about the positives. Now we don't as much. So like at the beginning you would hear like, oh, you know, couples are either getting really, really close or they're separating. Now you're just hearing about the couple separating. But I do feel it's because there's holes being found in the relationships, holes that we were not necessarily knowing we needed to solve because we hadn't been spending this much time together. That would have come out eventually. Right? At some point we're going to retire. At some point the children aren't going to be around.
Yeah.
At some point, right? So these things are going to come out anyways. It's just a matter of when they come out.
Yeah.
And they're solvable, by the way, most of the time. I think that most of the time they're solvable if you want to solve them.
Yeah. Okay. So what about work? I hate my work. I'm underpaid, and I'm just gonna do what's expected of me. That doesn't make for really like motivating work.
So I have actually
work
an
life?
interesting idea about that one, because
Okay.
I don't think there's anything wrong of doing what's expected of you if you have no desire to move up in the company.
Okay.
Like if your happiness does not come from your work, if it comes from outside places, like maybe your sports or your activities, your hobbies or whatever, and this is a way to fund that,
Okay.
then I don't necessarily see a problem with that, because there's a lot of people that have a job that's not for fun, and so that's one thing. However, if you like your work to be more than that, that's when it becomes a problem.
Okay.
Right? And so if you'd like your work to be more than that, then going into it with the attitude of I'm just going to do the bare minimum, I would more like you to look at it from the perspective of, if this is not the place that I would like to be for the next 10 years, where would I like to be? And maybe start working towards getting to that place. Right? It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to change what you're doing right now. So maybe this position that I'm in right now isn't fun for me because it's just not going to be fun for me. Right? Maybe this is what I was able to do at the time when I needed to get a job. A lot of people are in that situation right now, like with the work situation that we're living, and then we had to let go of jobs because our job, like, so let's say all the waitresses and you know, all the people that were working like really face to face with people, that their jobs got closed down. Like, what are you doing now? And maybe I loved working in that environment, but now maybe I might work at a grocery store or something, or it's just not the same vibe. You don't interact with the people the same way. It's not as fun for me. So it could be an opportunity to retrain.
Yeah.
It could be an opportunity to see if there's something more that's here. So something more in this work environment, like maybe a different job in the same, but you need to look at it. You need to be honest with yourself about what you like and don't like, and then figure out like, how can I change the situation?
We also need to be willing to do the work like you were talking about, retrain. So you need to maybe to arrange your schedule to get yourself like time or space to learn something new.
It's really hard because I know I said need as well. I said need as well, and it's really hard like using the right words. But if I want this to be different, I'm going to find the time.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
If I really want it to be different, I'm going to find the time. Like there's a lot of things where, let's go back to food for 5 seconds. You know, how many times do you have people say, well, oh, I don't have time to cook, so therefore I can't eat healthy? Honestly, at the very beginning, when I thought I had to eat all those vegetables and salads and, 5, 10 cups of like what, all the stuff that I was being told, and I had it in my head, I'm doing this. What did I do? Every weekend I cooked. I took the whole day to make sure that I had the vegetables and the salads that prepared so that when I got home, I could eat, and that I had it to bring to lunch, because at that point I was eating 2 meals a day.
Cooking for a day, that's the worst day of your life.
It was, honestly.
Yeah.
But honestly, but it wasn't, because it was giving me what I wanted. It was giving me the food to eat, to do this properly, to solve my hip properly. It was this. It was absolutely this. I needed to know how to do this. And I mean, I'm using that word there, but like that, I was so dire. Again, 43, cannot climb stairs. It was not even a possibility to me that I would make it like to 50 if this didn't, like, how would I would have no job. I would have, like, it was, everything was just like melting away from me. Like, how would I work? I couldn't sit. How would I work?
Yeah.
So I think when you really put your mind to, I'm going to do this, then you figure out how to do it. Right?
Okay.
Like the same thing, like when I decided I was no longer going to work for the government, I was going to work for myself. Yeah. Did it mean that I stopped buying certain things? Yep. Did it mean like I had to keep my car longer? Yep. Like I stopped getting a new cell phone every year? Yep. Like all the things that I was so used to just, oh yeah, they all went away.
The other one I have, like, I'm not sure if I even had a negative goal, but, and it's tricky. It's more like, I know in my case, it's more almost avoiding the problem. I'm talking about finance. Okay. Like I think if we look at the stats, like people are never been that as much into debt that they are right now. But although now, like in the last year, they have a little bit more money, but like because they spend less. But like the debt level is like relatively high, and oftentimes, like sometimes I'm gonna look at my things. Okay, I'm gonna do something. Like I'm boosted and do it, but like other times I'm just gonna, okay, that's horrible. I'm gonna put it aside and not think about it. So
but that's it, right? If you look at it and you feel like it's horrible, that's when you're gonna put it aside. And that's it. But it's exactly that. The negative goal is, I don't want to see that.
I don't want to.
The negative goal is, I don't want to know. The negative goal is, I have a hole to get out of and I don't know how. Okay. And so then I don't touch it.
I think it's my situation. I have putting that big chunk of money over that means that I need to make some compromises. Or maybe a better plan. And I know it helped me like a couple months ago. I've met with a financial planner that actually like look at your accounts, look at your situation, and actually understands it. And like, funny enough, like she didn't see my situation as worse as I was seeing it. Like she was seeing a lot of positive, and like, but because like as an individual, you look at this line of credit or this credit card or this account or this thing, and she has the whole like thing. I was like, there's nothing to be worried about. Like, and like came with a good plan of getting like back in a more acceptable situation even for me, and with like your retirement coming in maybe like 15-20 years and stuff like that. So yeah it's coming fast. Too fast even, but like or even maybe less, like maybe that's why you're nodding, or how long you want to work.
Well, I don't know if I'll ever retire though. That's my thing.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not in a job where I need to retire.
No, that's true. Yeah.
You know, like I talk to people and I help them to do better in life. Like that's a fun thing to do. I don't know if I would ever want to stop doing that.
Yeah.
My little old lady self going into the office and helping people. Like I just kind of see that. I don't know if anybody remembers Dr. Ruth, but like I remember just seeing that little woman going in. She's like still working. She was still on the radio. She was still doing all this. I was like so inspired by her. Like, you know, you can. It is a job that you can just do it until you can't do it.
Yeah.
So part of the reason that I'm so happy that living a ketogenic lifestyle helps me to be have such mental clarity, because it makes me gives me confidence that I'll be able to do this my
And
job
then you're
well
not
into the future.
sleeping in the face of your clients after a big pizza at lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun talk. Like I wanted to see, because I'm pretty sure a lot of, like, even my, like, even I think myself, like, is getting, and at least now I realize that I'm setting myself, not always, but like have a negative goal or say something in a negative way and try to switch it to a more positive and
One of the funny
so
things I think that I notice with me is that sometimes I'll catch myself not happy and realize, oh, yeah, I'm thinking, and I can catch that little negative like that I'm saying to myself.
oh
And I think the funny thing is that when you know that that's part of the issue that's happening, then you listen for it. And like
mhm,
sometimes I'll just be like, like I'm not in a good mood, and I start listening to the things I'm saying in my head and be like, oh, well, of course, like listen to how I'm
mhm,
talking it to me. Like, of course I'm not gonna be in a good mood, right? And you can. The good thing about that is that you can take a stop and rephrase the things from no's to yeses,
yes, it's
and
okay.
then work on those creating those yeses,
Hmm.
right? And a lot of the time, it's so doable, right? I don't want to fight with you
Hmm.
turns into I'm going to have good communication, I'm going to problem solve, and I'm going to be respectful. And all of a sudden, it's a different conversation that we're having, right? And I'm not arguing with you. I'm just
Hmm.
showing my side of things, and I'm
Hmm.
listening for your side of things.
Right. But it takes, just on that topic, it takes a lot of, I think, knowing your partner, knowing yourself, because sometimes, like, even if you have that approach and you're a little bit like more animated in the way you, like, I could think that you're mad, but you're not, like, but sometimes I do, even that's a kind of negative talking to me, like why she's mad at me, but she's not mad at me, she's just like saying what you have to say, P. Or even you have a conversation and you're like, "Rrr,"
So
but
here's what's
like,
interesting, and I'm going to go back to what I said originally. If I take that goal of I don't want you to be mad at me away, does it matter if you're mad at me?
mm, mm,
Be mad at me. I'm still saying what I'm saying because this is where I am,
yeah,
right? Be mad at me.
mm,
I'm not going to not change. I'm not going to, well, I am going to stay with my position, and your mad is not going to change my position, right?
yeah,
If I'm mad, it shouldn't change your position if
yeah,
that's really where you are. This is a part where a lot of people want to solve the problem, but everybody's happy, and then it's butterflies, and no, but that's not
it's all
reality.
social networks.
Yeah, it's not
It's all
reality,
Instagram and
right?
Facebook.
It's the
Yeah.
truth is, of course there are going to be occasions where you're mad at me,
Mm,
of course, because I'm Violet and you're Patrick,
mm,
and I do stuff,
mhm,
and it's just the truth. Like
yeah,
sometimes you're
yeah,
going to be annoyed at the dumb stuff I do, the same way that you do stuff, and
oh
sometimes
yeah,
I'm annoyed at the dumb stuff you do, and it's normal. And like it's not an attack on me that you did something. It's not an attack on
mm,
you that I did something. In my head, when I did it, I thought it was okay.
yeah, yeah,
Your
yeah.
reaction is telling me now, oh, okay, I guess not.
Mm,
Right? So, and sometimes I'm going to fight for that. Sometimes I'm going to fight for the
yeah,
fact that it's okay. Right? Sometimes you're going to fight for the fact that it's okay.
hmm,
And there's going to be other times where we're just going to look at each other and go, yeah, I don't know why I did that. Yeah,
yeah,
that wasn't smart.
uh,
Right? And I do feel that strong couples, so I guess we're kind of mixing couples finance and all these things
yeah,
now at the
yeah,
end here, because I think a strong couples are able to understand that getting on my nerves doesn't mean that you don't love me,
mm,
right? That wanting something different doesn't mean that you don't love me, right? It's normal.
mm,
We're two different people.
mhm,
Sometimes I want something that you don't want, sometimes you want something that I don't want. It's normal,
yeah,
right? So if going back to what you said of like, why is she mad at me? Well, because I am,
hmm,
right? And by the way, I'm allowed to be mad. Like you're allowed to
yeah,
be mad.
yeah, yeah. So I wanted to do something a little bit different this week. I hope it was helpful. Like, we had fun, I think, doing that little chat.
And
So,
I hope that everyone can see how this would relate to
mm,
living your ketogenic lifestyle too, because I
yeah,
feel like being able to prioritize doing the things that are for your health,
hmm,
being able to prioritize being honest with yourself, and definitely making sure that whatever you're saying to you is in line with what you actually want the outcome to look like. So I definitely hope that you can see the links
hmm,
because I see them hugely. Like the video, because when you like the video, Wellness Warriors, it helps YouTube to push it out to more people. And I really do
hmm,
think that this is a message that people really need to have.
yeah.
There are some videos on the screen right there that are going to help you to improve your health.
please share the video to as many people as possible. Maybe they can be helpful, especially like in that situation we're in right now.
I want to thank you for watching Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet, Patch Out Edition.
Talk to you next week.
We'll talk to you next week.